Alright, let's start in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Father and Maker of all, you adorn all creation with splendor and beauty, and fashion human lives in your image and likeness. Awaken in every heart reverence for your works, for the works of your hands, and renew among your people a readiness to nature and sustain your precious gift of life. Grant this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, God, forever and ever. Amen. I'd like to introduce our speaker for the night. Her name's Fonda Luersman. Okay. She became involved in the pro-life movement in the late 1980s. She began as a sidewalk counselor in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in 1997, right, when I was born, all right. Started working with the Catholic Pro-Life Committee of North Texas as the convert to life, director coordinating prayer on sidewalk counseling efforts outside of Dallas abortion facilities. Fonda later began working as the director of the Abortion Aftercare Healing Ministry in Dallas, and this began her work with Project Rachel as a special focus on helping those who need healing after abortion. She was able to start the Project Rachel missionary in several different dioceses and has recently launched Project Rachel in the Diocese of Tyler, Texas. So I want to welcome our speaker, Fonda Luersman.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Thank you. There we go. All right, well, I'm just really happy to be here tonight. I love working and talking with young people, so thank you for being here and thank you for just all that you do, and I just love that that you love Jesus and that you're so young. It's wonderful. So I guess I'm going to start with, I was just thinking about what I would say, and I thought my goal really is to make sure that you never need Project Rachel. Project Rachel is a ministry that offers hope and healing for those who suffer after an abortion. And my goal would be that you would never need that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit how to make sure that you never do need that. And if you do know anybody who does need healing after abortion, that you know what to say and where to go and what to do. So I just want to say there is real healing for after abortion. I know a lot of people think, oh, how could there healing for me? But I've seen many, many, many women and men heal after abortion in just profound ways, life-changing ways. So I just want to offer that hope out there, and we'll talk more about that. So I understand you had a doctor, biologist talk with you last week, and he was talking about when life begins. So when does life begin? Anybody want to say when life begins? Who would like to share when life begins? I'm sure you were all listening.
Life begins with the cell.
Okay, with the cell, and it begins at
Conception.
At conception, there you go. Yeah, life begins at conception. So that's something that is trying to be changed. Like Planned Parenthood, other places, other people out there are trying to say that life does not begin at conception, but when it implants in the womb. Well, no, it begins at conception. It begins before the baby implants in the womb. So that's just something that we all want to make sure that we stand strong on. So I just thought I'd share with you a little bit about my experiences in this ministry. And just also I'm going to bring in a little bit about sidewalk counseling. So what we did as sidewalk counselors is we go to the location where they were performing abortions, and we would stand outside and we would, in a loving, gentle way, offer alternatives. So if a woman was coming down the sidewalk, we'd greet her, we'd say, good morning, how are you? And then we'd offer her some help So we might offer them free sonogram, free financial help, free medical help. And that's the thing, like a lot of people don't know. They think, oh, I'm pregnant, what do I do? They think Planned Parenthood, because Planned Parenthood has done such a big job on just their marketing and just getting everybody to think they need to go to Planned Parenthood when they're pregnant. But as I hope you know, Planned Parenthood, who knows what Planned Parenthood does? Anybody want to tell me if are you familiar with Planned Parenthood? Raise your hand if you've heard of Planned Parenthood. Okay, not everybody has. Okay, so a lot of you younger people have not. Planned Parenthood wants to make sure all the young people know that if a woman gets pregnant, that they will help her. Well, really, Planned Parenthood is the #1 abortion provider. So they don't like people to know that because they don't want that on the radar. So they say, we'll help you if you're pregnant. But what they basically try to do is sell you an abortion. And y'all know what abortion is. Everybody knows what abortion is, right? So that's what they're trying to sell. And it's just really important that you know, because a lot of the women that I have worked with, and men, had abortions in college. So you were all in high school, pretty much, it looks like. And I know there's old people here too. But a lot of you who are going to go away to college, you might go away to college, or you might go to another kind of school, maybe not a college, but learning some other skills. But anyway, you would go away, and a lot of abortions happen in college. So that's why I really told you my goal is I don't want any of you to ever have to need Project Rachel, because I don't want you to have to go through that suffering that abortion brings. So, I'm going to give you another question. So if you were in college and someone came up to you and they confided in you that they were pregnant and they're thinking about having an abortion because they're afraid to tell their parents, what would you say to them? Anybody want to share what they might say if a friend came and said, I'm pregnant, I don't know what to do, I'm scared, I can't tell my parents, I don't, what am I going to do? I'm thinking about abortion. Anybody want to say what they might say to them? Yes.
Do what you think is right first.
Okay, do what you think is right. But could you expound on that a little more?
I mean, is it necessarily going to fix the problem? No, it's still a procedure that I'm pretty sure your parents have to have or give consent to.
No, they actually, yeah. Parents do not need to give consent.
Really?
No, they do not. I think if a girl might be 15 or 16 or 17, I'm trying to remember, maybe it was around 17, I don't know. I don't know the latest right now on that. But no, they're more and more they're getting away with younger and younger. They don't need a parent's consent. So especially in college, you would not need you wouldn't need your parents' consent. So that's why.
Do what you think is right. If you think that's the right thing to do, if your mind's set on it, there's no point in me trying to explain other alternatives if your mind's set on what you're going to do.
Well, let me say this. He's saying that if your mind's set on it and you've explored other alternatives, that's what you're going to do, then do what you think is right. Well, let me just say this. Most of the women who would come to the abortion centers did not know a thing about what abortion was about. And I know you might think, what? I mean, they didn't research it? No. They didn't know the fetal development. They didn't know the risks. They had no idea that this was a baby. They were like, well, they said it's just some tissue or just some cells. It's just nothing. It's nothing. That's what I heard. So I talked to did this many years. So many women coming had no idea. They didn't know the risks. They didn't know about the breast cancer, the hemorrhaging, the perforated uterus, depression, anxiety, eating disorders. They didn't know anything about all the side effects of abortion. And so when they were coming, you would educate them. And I wish I had, I would just say, I wish I had some of that, but I know there's probably a pregnancy help center in the area. Is there? I didn't get to ask you that. Is there one? Okay. Well, that would be one thing. Let me just say, if you are ever in, or now in college, whatever, if you ever come across someone who is pregnant and needs help, all you gotta do is, on your phone, Pregnancy Help Center. There are pregnancy help centers all over Texas, all over the country, and all of them will help a woman who is pregnant. So, and they will help them financially, medically, whatever they need for that baby, they will help them. Because a lot of girls will say, I never knew there was any help for me. I had an abortion because I didn't know there was any help. There's tons of help for women who are pregnant. So as far as just saying, I mean, you really want to educate people. So what I'm saying is you want to educate them on what an abortion is. And I'd really encourage you, I didn't bring those materials because I'm not really sidewalk counseling anymore, but you can get them at any pregnancy help center. They'll have the development, they'll have the risks of abortion. So I encourage you, go to your local pregnancy center. Maybe y'all could do like a trip, you know, like a field trip out there, and get to know your local pregnancy center, and maybe you can even help them. You know, a lot of times they need, I don't know if any of you guys, you can donate diapers, or maybe some of you knit, you can make baby blankets. There's tons of ways you can donate, because a lot of girls need help, you know, if they're pregnant. So I guess what I want to say is, don't assume when someone says, yeah, this is what I mean, because I talked to tons of girls that would say, yeah, I thought about it and this is what I want to do. And then I would say, well, but do you know this? And so I would go through and I would show them the development of the baby. I said, your baby's heart is beating 18 to 21 days. Did you know your baby's heart is beating? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, did you know that your baby's, you know, has brain waves that, I'm trying to remember all my, you know, all of it now, but I think somewhere around 11 weeks, brain waves, you know. So, and they're like, really? I didn't know that. And then I start saying, well, did you know that you could have your uterus punctured, that the suction machine is 29 times stronger than a vacuum cleaner? And they're like, that sounds kind of scary, you know? But I would tell them, Planned Parenthood is not going to tell you these things. They're going to make it sound really smooth, really easy. You'll be back in school tomorrow and you'll be just fine. Well, how many of you saw Unplanned? Raise your hand if you saw Unplanned. Okay, so about a third of you, not even a third of you, have seen Unplanned. I recommend you watch that movie. Abby Johnson, who was a director of Planned Parenthood, had what's called the chemical abortion. So it's like a pill form of abortion where you take the first pill and then you, like 24 hours later, you take the second pill. Well, she had one at home and she thought she was gonna die. So she was on the bathroom floor. I won't go into all the details, but it was a bad scene on the bathroom floor with blood and everything. So she thought she was gonna die. So she called them and she said, you told me this was gonna be like a heavy period. That's what it would just be like a heavy period and you'll be just fine. She said it was horrible. She said, I thought I was gonna die. I passed out. She literally passed out on the bathroom floor. And she said, I thought my mother was gonna find me there dead. That's how bad it was. So what I'm saying is, like, Planned Parenthood is going to try and make it sound, oh, just so smooth, so easy, it's nothing. They lie. So if they don't have a problem killing babies, they're not gonna have a problem lying to you. So I just want to say, don't trust them, and do watch Unplanned if you haven't seen it. It's the true story of Abby Johnson, who was a director of Planned Parenthood, and by God's grace, they actually called her in to hold the probe on an abortion, and she had never. You would think that someone who was the director of Planned Parenthood for 8 years would have known about the abortion and what it all entailed. She had no idea. 8 years of doing this, they asked her, we need you because someone, I don't know what happened, they needed a tech to come in and hold the probe. So she held the probe on the woman's stomach so that the abortionist could remove the baby, and she watched it, and she said the baby crumpled. That's how she explained it. Baby crumpled and went out, and she just lost it. She just left. She dropped the probe and left, and that was the beginning of her leaving Planned Parenthood once she saw what an abortion was. So really recommend you watch that, because it's the reality of what's going on. And right now, chemical abortions are what are more than 50% now. So before it used to be surgical abortions, now it's chemical abortions. So the chemical abortions, like I said, you take one pill, and then basically I think that stops the blood flow, stops all the nutrients to the baby, and then the next pill, the baby is aborted. And I won't go into detail, but it's really horrible. It's really horrible what's done, and they want to keep it all a secret. So if you watch Unplanned, you'll really learn the truth about it, and you guys can help save some lives. You know, you can. I mean, believe me, when I was in college, I had an opportunity to save a life. And this was before I really even knew, you know, I wasn't really strong. I mean, I was pro-life, but I didn't really understand it all. You know, I hadn't hadn't come across my life. So my friend from high school called me when I was in college and it's like, I'm pregnant. She said, I don't know what to do. I'm pregnant. What do I do? And I think back to that moment and I think, what was I thinking? I literally covered the phone and asked my roommate, my friend's pregnant. What should she do? Now I look at it and I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So thankfully I had a Baptist roommate and she's like, tell her to keep the baby, don't have an abortion. So I was like, and I knew that was the right thing to say. And I was like, don't have the abortion. Well, sadly she did have the abortion. But I think if I would have gotten her the right resources and I knew where to send her and everything, if I knew more at that time, I think I could have helped save that baby. Because I could have said, look, let's call this pregnancy help center, we'll get you a sonogram. Once they see the sonogram, I think it's 80 to 90% of women, once they see their sonogram, will not have that abortion. So if you can get her to the pregnancy help center and get the sonogram, you basically save the baby. So anyway, I wanted to share this because I know y'all are a lot of you are gonna go to college or other trade schools or whatever to further your education properly, and you're probably gonna have someone come across in your life in a panic. What do I do? Should I go have an abortion? Or they might ask you, will you take me to have an abortion? And I just want to encourage you to say, oh, let's just take their time, because number one, most women who have abortion rush into it. And I can't tell you how many women on our retreats, because we do retreats for women who've had abortions to heal them, how many of them tell me, it's like a broken record. Like, I've heard so many stories. It's the same story. It's like, I got pregnant, I panicked, I didn't know what to do, and I made a really fast decision, and I just was like tunnel vision, and I just went down, and I had the abortion, and they don't think. And so that's what you're gonna have to do, is you're gonna have to say, let's just take some time, let's go down to the Pregnancy Help Center, they've got tons of help for you, let's get a sonogram so they can see the reality of that baby in them. Because if they've gone to Planned Parenthood's saying, oh, that's just some tissue, that's some cells, it's nothing, it's really nothing. Well, that's a lie. As you probably learned in your last week, that baby is totally formed, that baby is its heart is beating, and so really we just need to know our facts. Just really want to say, learn your facts and just get your pregnancy help center, know where it's at, go visit it, and then if that ever happens to you, you guys could save a life, and that's the best feeling. Like, to be able to know that you helped someone choose life, for their baby. That baby is alive because of what you did. So we just want to encourage you in that. And let's see. Oh, the other thing that comes up a lot with this is a lot of times people think, oh, well, it's really not my business. It's not my business. Well, it is your business when someone's life is at risk and at stake. It is, as Catholics, it is our business. It is our business to save lives when lives are being, when someone's about to take a life. So don't ever think it's not my business. It is your business. God would want you to step in and do all you can to save that life. And also the church is always here to help you. You've got amazing father, sisters. You can come to them. If anybody is ever pregnant, don't go running to Planned Parenthood. Come see them. We pray that doesn't happen, but if it were to happen, you come to the church, and there's so much help. There's so much help. They will walk with you through that time. So I wanted to show you a video. This is a lady who came through Project Rachel. I don't know her, but she came through the Project Rachel program, and I thought it'd just be nice to see someone who, she'll tell you her story a little bit here, so you can hear what happened to her. And I just thought we'd watch that. So, thank you.
I was 17 in high school when I became pregnant. I had no job, no money. I actually was petrified to go home and tell my mom and dad, but I had no choice. Abortion had just become legal, like maybe a month or two before. They thought that would be the best for me to have an abortion. I didn't want it. I did say I didn't want it. I was in a position where I basically had no choice. My parents whisked me out of the house in the middle of the night so nobody would know. My mom, when it was over, she said, I don't want to hear you speak of this again. Go on with your life. Right there, part of me. But I went on, tried to live my life. I looked okay. I had a job and got married, and life looked good. But no one had any idea what was going on inside of me. I had an inner battle every day in my head. I really was falling apart until the point where I did have an emotional breakdown. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even decide what to wear in the morning. God help me, please. I couldn't live like that anymore. It wasn't life. Project Rachel was the gateway for healing. I thought that my abortion was not the issue, but seeking help, the truth came out, and it was really me carrying this toxic burden all those years. After Project Rachel, I had knowledge I didn't have before, that God truly loved me, wanted me whole. I truly knew that God wanted me to forgive myself, because if I didn't forgive myself, I would have stayed in that prison for the rest of my life. I am joy in my life now, and love, just free.
So every time I watch that, it really moves me, because it reminds me so much of the women that, I work mostly with the women. I work some with the men as well. But it's just so true. Like, you could see, she went through tremendous, she thought, she had a breakdown. She suffered so much. But until she went through Project Rachel and she got that healing, it truly changed her life. And now she's happy, she has joy in her life. And that's, just wanted to hear firsthand what Project Rachel can do. So if you do know somebody suffering after an abortion, please let them know about Project Rachel. Y'all have the cards there. And actually, if you go out to that website, it's on the card. It has like 3 or 4 videos, so different women who share their stories. So it's a really great way to connect someone. Like, sometimes you might not know exactly what to say, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But it's always nice to put on a video, and they can go onto the website, they can click on these videos, and they can watch someone and what they experienced and the healing that they got from Project Rachel. So I just wanted you to all have that in your hand. And then I just wanted to go over a little bit for excuse me, for anybody, if you know anybody who is suffering after an abortion, like what to do, what would be an important thing to do. Okay, well, number 1, you want to listen and you want to give them hope. So, tell them about Project Rachel. Tell them there's hope and healing. Show them one of these stories so they can say, wow, this woman really, really got healing after all this. Because a lot of times there's 2 components to kind of this whole process. The first one is, and if you're Catholic, for a woman to go to confession, or a man to go to confession, we know that God will forgive them, and that's awesome, but that's half the healing, really. The other half is really them to forgive themselves, to receive God's forgiveness, and to forgive themselves. And that's where Project Rachel comes in. So Project Rachel is where we offer the help. So I thought I'd go over kind of what we offer. You can see on this card, one-day retreats, support groups, counseling, and referrals. And we also do one-on-one. So I'm going to be doing more one-on-one, because sometimes people just need a one-on-one. So we do that as well. We have we have some great counselors we can refer to. And the retreats, we had one retreat in November, and it went really well. It was a small retreat, but the women got just really a lot of healing, freedom. It was awesome. So those are just some of the things. And then if you look on the back of the card, you can see these are some of the after effects of abortion. So it says sadness, anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, loss of self-esteem, self-destructive behavior, addiction, self-blame, loss or emptiness, anger, and nightmares. Those are just a few. There's many, many more effects. But sometimes it's nice to have something that someone can go, oh, yeah, I've got that. I'm experiencing the sadness, the depression, the guilt. So it's just a nice, it's just something to hold on to, and you can share with anybody who might be suffering. And let's see, so I have other notes are on my phone, so I'm gonna go over those. Okay. So I wanted to share a little bit about, I think I shared a little bit about the sidewalk counseling. So that's how I began my pro-life work, was as a sidewalk counselor. So that's when I firsthand saw women being pressured into abortion. So a lot of people think that, oh, a woman just chooses an abortion. Well, that's not really the case. A lot of times, it says here, some research that was done shows 62% of women thinking about abortion feel pressured by other people to undergo an abortion. So many times, it's not really the woman's decision. Many times, and Planned Parenthood can say as much as they want, give women the freedom to choose their abortions. Well, many times, and I saw it on the sidewalk, mothers, fathers, boyfriends, they were forcing them in there. I saw girls marched in there, 16-year-old girls, like you guys' age, dragged in there by their mothers. And had one woman who I'll never forget, her name was Lexi. And we would talk to them like their mothers would be like, we're going in here and we're having an abortion. We would talk to the girl and we would say, you don't have to do this, just tell them no in there, tell them you're being forced. So we would tell them what to tell the abortion center. And that one girl, and there were other ones, she said no. She said, I don't want it. And she must have told them inside she didn't want it. And so I just remember the mother like marching out with her daughter like trailing behind. The mother was furious, but the daughter stood up and said, I don't want it. And so they didn't do it. Because at this particular abortion center, it was in Dallas that I used to do this, for some reason they wouldn't, if they knew you were being forced, they wouldn't do it. So that was a good thing. So some babies were saved that way. But, so again, a lot of women are pressured into it, and, they hear these lies that you're gonna be fine. Well, I've heard all the stories after the abortion, you're not fine, you're really suffering. And another thing, I wanted to give you a website. If you want more information, it's called afterabortion.org. It has a lot of information about abortion and statistics that you might be interested in finding out about. I'm going to go over a few more statistics here in just a minute. Okay, so here's a few here. 1 in 4 women have had an abortion before the age of 45, and I believe it's the same in the Catholic Church. So 1 in 4 women have had an abortion before age 45. That's a lot of suffering souls in our pews. So 50% of those abortions are repeats. So 50% of all abortions are repeats. And we did go over some of the side effects. I've seen the side effects, and it's just really painful. Like, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen pain deeper than someone who's had an abortion. I don't think I've seen deeper pain. I went, when I was doing sidewalk counseling in Dallas, the man who headed up Project Rachel, he's like, Fonda, you really need to come on to Project Rachel so you can see, you'll be a better sidewalk counselor. You'll be able to see what the women who did have an abortion, what they went through. And I was like, yeah, I said, I'll go. When is it, So it was Rachel's Vineyard. I went on it. And even though I've never experienced an abortion, they have you kind of share something in your life that you need healing for. So I had to share, something in my life that I need healing for. So you participate. And then I just saw abortion up close and personal. And I sat in a circle like this, like a small, a circle of 10. And I had to, I listened to the stories, the story. And this woman would say, and my father made me do it, or my brother, my sister, not sister, but usually my father or my mother. So I would hear so many stories of many of them were pressured. I remember that really struck me. I thought, look how many of them were forced to do this. And they'd say they didn't want it. Now some of them did want it. At the time they wanted it, but then they realized after they did it, they usually immediately would feel like, what have I done? What have I done? And they can't undo it. So I watched, like we went through this Rachel's Vineyard retreat, and I heard the stories, and then you just do all these kind of like different grief exercises, just different ways to to acknowledge your baby and to grieve your baby, because that's something that our culture doesn't. Our culture says, oh, abortion, you're fine, you don't grieve, you don't need to grieve your baby. Well, that's not true. If you have a miscarriage, you grieve your baby. If you have an abortion, you grieve your baby. You need to grieve your baby. You've lost your child. So that's what this beautiful retreat would do, is it would have you heal and grieve, because it's a grieving process. It's very painful. But I mean, so painful for me to watch. I was just like, just to hear this crying. I don't know if you guys have seen in the movies, like, I always call it gut-wrenching pain, like when they howl. Like, I'd never seen that in person. Like, these women were like bent over howling, and I'm going, oh my goodness, this is so painful. I'm like, no one needs, please, no one do this, So after I went on this treatment, well, let me just say this. So it was very painful to watch, but you have to grieve to get to your healing. So by the end, you had this amazing healing. These women were transformed. They had these huge smiles on their faces, and they were like glowing by the end of the weekend, because they had realized, that God loved them, God would forgive them. There's opportunity for confession. They go to confession, and that burden, these are just some quotes, okay? One woman said it was like a boulder was taken off. This weekend, at the end of her retreat, it was like the boulder was removed from my neck that I've been carrying around my neck. That's what one woman said. Another woman said, is like this dark blanket that I've been under, this dark blanket. It's like the blanket was thrown off me, and I could like see the light again. These were the things that women were saying. They were so free after their retreat. So it was so painful for me to watch, but in the end, there was a really amazing healing. And then I was a better sidewalk counselor. So when I went out there, I was like, you can't do this. You have no idea what you're about to do. I'm like, this is the worst thing you're going to do to yourself. It's going to hurt so bad. So I would try to tell them, and I think it really made me more passionate to let them know what they were about to do, that they didn't want to bring such pain upon themselves and to lose their children, and that we could help them, So that's a little bit about just about what I experienced watching the healing process. And then I also wanted to say, many women carry their secret for like 20, 30, 40 years. There was one woman who called me on my helpline. I carry a helpline. She was 90. She was 90 years old, and she was still suffering from her abortion. I'll never forget that call. So we would bring these women on our retreats. Like, we would say, come on a retreat, and they would get their healing. And so I also wanted to mention the men, because a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just for the women. Well, no, there's a man for every baby, every abortion, there's a man involved. And so we have healing for men. Now, the retreats for men is called Project Joseph. And Project Joseph, we kind of partner with Dallas. So if you know any men that need healing, there's a retreat center like an hour and 45 minutes from Tyler, downtown Tyler. So it's in the Dallas area. We keep it all secret, but it's in the Dallas area, and it's called Project Joseph. And they get the same healing like the women get, but it's kind of the manly way to do it. Like, men don't heal the same way as women do, so they do it especially for men. And then we also have retreats for the Spanish speakers. So if there's someone who speaks Spanish and they can't come on an English retreat, we're also partnering right now till we get it going in Spanish. We partner with Dallas, and they have a beautiful Spanish program. And we just had our first lady go to Dallas like last weekend, and she had an amazing healing. She's like, oh, I feel like a new person. And she's just so happy. So she really had a lot of healing. So I just want to say it's for, Spanish speakers, English, women, men. We have help for everybody. And let me see what else. Okay, so I would just say that I just want to really encourage you to get involved. So a couple options here. I brought this clipboard, and if you're interested, we have, I don't know if you've heard of the Sanctity of Life Action Committee, but Bishop Strickland kind of gave his blessing on it. So it's for the whole diocese, and believe me, I didn't know y'all were up here. It's like, ooh, this is a long drive up here, but it's great, and so you're all part of the diocese. But we have what's called the Sanctity of Life Action Committee, and it has like 9 ministries, and they even have a youth ministry, I believe. So they have Youth for Life. They've got, let's see, they've got Project Gabriel. So Project Gabriel helps women who are, like let's say there's a pregnant mom. If you're a Gabriel angel, you'll kind of you'll partner with her and you will walk with her through her pregnancy. So you'll be her angel. You'll be her angel. It's really beautiful. So we have Project Gabriel. We have, they do kind of political end. They do the political action. We've got Project Rachel and just like 9 ministries. So I'm going to pass this around. If you would like to receive our, it's sort of like an email update. It's like a flock note. Y'all know what flock notes are. It's like a flock note that you get, and it'll just give what's going on in the diocese with pro-life. So if you like, oh, there's a sidewalk counseling training, I want to learn how to do that. Actually, there is a sidewalk counseling training coming up. So if you wanted to do that, you could come to the sidewalk counseling training, or I want to get involved with this, or you maybe want to do something with the youth. There's something with our Youth for Life. So it's just name, email, and phone. If you don't want to put your phone, you don't have to. But I just thought I'd pass it around, and anybody who would like to receive, it's no commitment, it's just receiving our flock notes to know what's going on in the diocese with pro-life. So I'll just pass it around. If you're not interested, it's okay, but I just thought if anyone's interested, you'll get our updates. So that's one way to get involved. And then, let's see what else. Oh yeah, are you all familiar with 40 Days for Life? Who's heard of 40 Days for Life? Okay, a lot of people haven't heard of it. Okay, let me tell you about that. 40 Days for Life is, it's sort of like, it's worldwide, and what they do is they do 40 days outside of the abortion center. So there's a Planned Parenthood in Tyler, y'all know that? Thankfully the abortionist, we don't call him a doctor, the abortionist quit. So they're really scurrying around trying to find somebody because he quit. So that's really good news. So we think that Planned Parenthood in Tyler may be on the verge of quitting, but just shutting down. So pray for that. But there's a 40 days going on right now. So it's going to go from Ash Wednesday all the way almost to Easter. So it's 40 days. And let me just think. And so basically what you can do is you can go and pray outside of an abortion center. So if you want to pray there, you go out there and pray, and some people sidewalk counsel, so they talk to the girls that are coming. Now, even though in Texas abortion isn't legal, they could refer girls for abortion, so maybe they're going to refer them to another state, whatever the closest state is. So you still could help save a baby, because if these girls are thinking of abortion, you could still do that. So that's 40 Days for Life, and that's going on right now. So if you put your name on there, you'll get the information about 40 Days for Life. 40 Days for Life has saved thousands of babies. Let me just, more than that, thousands and thousands of babies. Just a lot of times going out there, just standing out there can save a baby. I know that might sound kind of crazy to you, like just going out and standing out there and praying can save a baby. Yes. I was outside, I had several opportunities, several times I'd be out there, and we had like my car parked, and then we put a sign there that said pregnant, need help, and 972 baby due. And I had women say to me, what is that? Like, I said, they asked me about the sign on my car. I say, oh, that's, if you're pregnant and need help, it's, we can help you with your baby. So you don't have to don't go in there and have an abortion. And they're like, this one woman says to me, well, I was praying for a sign. I was praying to God for a sign, and this is my sign. So she said, I'm not gonna have the abortion. So that was one time. I had another time, a lady came up to me, and I was out there praying, and she comes up, and I thought she was coming in. So I had my literature, like this. So she's walking up on the sidewalk, and I said, oh, I was like, oh, hi, how are you? And I went to give her the help. I was like, oh, we've got help for you. And then she's like, oh, no. She said, we're leaving. Me and my boyfriend have been sitting down here in our car, and we're leaving. I just wanted to tell you that we changed our mind. And I'm not sure if she said you were my sign. She might have said you were my sign. I think she did. And she just wanted to let you know that we're going to leave because she saw us there praying. So, so a lot of times just standing out there praying, you can save a baby. So it's really wonderful. And I just wanted to, we'll do some Q&As here in a second, but I wanted to share a story with you. Let me just see here. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to also say that abortion is not legal in Texas, but it's illegal in a lot of other states. And so we just really need to work to end it. And even in Texas, we still need to be outside these, like the Planned Parenthoods, because they can refer girls to other states. And we need to be there to talk to the girls to say, don't go to wherever. I don't know where the closest, I don't know where they're doing abortions close here, but. Colorado, New Mexico, yeah. We want to be there to say, don't, and I know about New Mexico, yeah. They do the later term abortions in New Mexico. So, you want to say, don't do that. Don't take a bus or take a plane to another state to go have an abortion. So we still have much work to do here. Still a lot of work to do. So I just want to encourage you to get involved and just to, really promote life, that every life is precious. And, it looks like you guys have all kinds of good stuff over here. So, and even just a lot of it, like this one here, I see this. A lot of it is just education. I mean, just hang on one of these and you could take it with you to, you go to college or wherever you go. I mean, just having this right here to save a baby. You could keep this and you can just say, look, well, Planned Parenthood said it wasn't just a clump of cells. Well, look, here's a baby at 1 to 4 weeks. Here's a baby 5 to 8 weeks. This is a clump of cells. This is a 5 to 8 week baby. This baby's got fingers and toes, and so by educating people, you can save a life. Because a lot of times people have no idea that their baby looks this developed at 5 to 8 weeks. That's pretty amazing. So I really encourage you to keep them with you. And here's another really good one. You guys have all kinds of good stuff. I didn't see this. This is kind of the same thing. Like here's even a 6-week baby, and then they also here have all the different things that are happening. So even at 11 weeks, the baby's practicing breathing, and vocal cords and taste buds form. So just learning this stuff, I really encourage you guys to pick these up and just memorize it. That's what I used to do, is I just would memorize all the different things that were happening at the different stages, and then that way I could just rattle it off when I was talking to the girls. They had no idea. They're like, what? Really? My baby has a heartbeat? If that, 18 to 21 days, the baby's heart is already beating. So, I mean, really, you guys can be a light, and I know you will be. Yes?
I've noticed, seems like it would cost or have to be funded. Seems kind of odd.
It seems like, okay, what would be funded?
It kind of seems odd, like these are talking retreats, but that would cost money.
Oh, for our retreats?
Yeah, it seems odd, don't you think?
Oh, well, we don't, you mean?
Like, wouldn't it be, like, is it a charge, will you charge?
Okay, what we do is we charge like $20. It costs us more than that. We just for lunch, and even like $10. So we have them give maybe a donation for lunch. If they can't afford that, like I always tell them, if you can't afford that, just come. So the only thing that, like for example in Dallas, there's retreats a full weekend, so it does cost money, but they always let people know if money's an issue, come for free. If you can donate toward the expense of the retreat, because we have to pay for the water and the electricity and all that stuff.
Like, where does the funding come from?
The funding comes from generous donors. So some people just like, I had a lady, she said, I'll give you $10,000 for your Project Rachel program, out of the blue. I was like, I didn't even know her. So, I mean, we just have generous people that will just fund us. So so I mean, but I just want you to know, it's never, if anyone wants to come on a retreat, they don't have to pay anything. If they would like to donate toward it, like $10 or something, they can for the lunch or for the materials, but it's never required. We want anybody and everybody to come who need healing. Does that make sense?
Financially, doesn't kind of make sense.
Does it make sense?
Like, if you think about it, if just bring them with the numbers together, generous donation would not cover what you're trying to do.
Well, I got 10,000, but then I got more.
Okay, does it make sense? People are not generous.
Oh, they are.
Probably the ones that you are around.
A lot of people.
But there's a lot of
Okay,
people that are
there's people. Let me just say this. What happens is a woman comes on a retreat. It changes her life. That burden that she's carrying, like I told you about the rock coming off her, that feels so good and so freeing, and she feels so awesome. She's like, can I please donate to help other women go through experience of healing that I went through? There'll be a lot of people do that because a lot of women have had abortions, and when they get healed, they want to give back, and that's the way they can give back. So that's one of the places the money comes from. But a lot of people just, yeah. So I mean, they're generous people. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Yeah, it's a blessing. It's been a blessing because I literally wanted to start this program, and we were doing a novena to Our Lady of Good Remedy, I think. And yeah, Our Lady of Good Remedy. And I had a few people doing the novena with me. I was like, we got to start Project Rachel here in the Diocese of Tyler, but we didn't have any money. And literally, we were doing the novena, and we had our first Sanctity of Life meeting that I was just telling you about. And this lady raises her hand. She's like, I was telling her, and I'm like, we're trying to raise money to start it. She's like, how much do you need? She's like, how much do you need? And we're like, and then I told her, and then because we were trying to get 20,000 at the time for the full year, and she said, she kind of just was like, I'll talk to you after, and then she just comes up, she's like, I'd like to give you 10,000. I was like, thank you. So yeah, people are just very, very generous like that. And I guess we can do any other questions? Yes.
I know that I've been talked a lot online, especially in a few different areas. I have debates or whatever about the pro-life. And, sorry. All right, so I've had debates,
Great.
a lot online, some in person, about the pro-life and things like that. And something I've noticed recently is that the tone has shifted from where it used to be a lot more, that's not a human life, you know? And I got really good at, well, what is life, you know, and what does it mean to be human, you know? And so I would break that down pretty good. And I've noticed recently I've been hearing a lot more of a consensual argument for abortion, like my right to my autonomy trumps the right of the child to be alive, that conflicting rights. And I was just curious, I can tell you my kind of
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, my kind of thing on that, what I responded was, rights come with responsibilities.
Hold the mic close to your mouth.
Oh, sorry. My response was, rights come with responsibilities. So if you choose to do an action which resulted in a child, you have a responsibility to take care of it. For instance, if, you know, just because you have a child, like a 2-year-old child, you have a responsibility to feed that child. You don't have the, you know, autonomy or whatever to not feed it. So no matter at what point in the child's life, because you brought that child into life, you have a responsibility to take care of it. You know, and it changes as the responsibility changes as they get older. You know, once they turn 18, you don't really have the same responsibilities you did when they were 2.
Right.
But I had the same, you know, you chose this, so therefore you still have the responsibility to carry it.
Exactly. No, I think that's great because it's kind of shifted. Now with the new technology and everything, they can't deny this is a life, so they have to kind of take a different route, and so they're going that route. But I like that. Another thing that came to mind when you were saying that is one of the sidewalk counselors that we had in Dallas. He would say to the women, or those he was debating, when did God start loving you? When did God start loving you? You know, when he created you. So what a lot of people do would go back a day, because a lot of times they'll say, you know, well, it's 6 months, it's a baby, and I wouldn't do it then. But then you just keep moving it back, but I really liked how he would say, you know, when did God start loving you? And because you know, a lot of people they'll say they believe in God, but no, I think that's great. I think that's so great what you said, and keep it up. That's awesome. Because we need to have those, you know, good debates in charitable ways, and because they don't have a leg to stand on. You know what I mean? They're trying to come up with these arguments, and a lot of times they just get mad and stomp off or something because it's just obvious that the life is just so obvious. I mean, pro-life, our arguments make sense, and they're just so, you know, we have God on our side. So thank you for sharing that. It's good.
Well, I was just curious if you had any
yeah.
other thing you'd want to add to it.
Yeah,
or
anything you want to add to it?
another-
Yeah, no, that's good. I would say, yeah, responsibility. I mean, I you know what I might do is get back with you on that, because I'd like to think it through some more and just think what a good reply, because if that's the new kind of what they're coming up with. I mean, I guess where I would go with it is, I would probably, just what I would do is I would go back to the humanity of the child. Like if, again, just this child, do you not see this as a different blood type, this child is a different human being, and I usually would bring God into it if I can, and because if they believe it, it's tougher when they don't believe in God, but if they do believe in God, I find that I could really get somewhere with, what does God, I mean, I used to do that all the time with my sidewalk counseling, is I would say, okay, so here we are, you're making this decision, let's just ask, if Jesus were standing right here with us, I would say to them, and I said, let's just do this. I said, what do you think? I said, just think about, what would Jesus say to you right now about whether you should have this abortion or not? What would he say for you to do? And I would just pause and just let it be silent. And I had them say, he'd say, keep it. And that's what they would do. So, I mean, that's kind of what I would, but it's tougher when they just don't believe in God. But I think once you can bring God into it also, and the humanity of the child, and then just kind of work on those different things, and again, whether you have to keep bringing it back, because like they'll say, oh, well, this age, well then, no, I wouldn't abort then. Well, what about one day before, and one day before, and one day before, but yeah, I'll have to think more about that, but that's kind of where I guess I would go with it. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Sure. Any other questions? I wanted to just close with one of my favorite testimonials. Did you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, we got a question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Okay. Anticonceptive.
Oh,
Are they part of abortion too?
the
Or-
contraceptives.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Contraceptives. This is a good topic, and I usually talk about it. So I don't usually talk about it with Project Rachel, but I do with sidewalk counseling. So there's many different types of contraceptives, but basically all of them are abortifacient in nature. So a lot of women think, oh, well, I can just take the pill and I won't get pregnant. Well, what a lot of young women don't know is, and I like to give a little analogy, is so let's say a woman is pregnant. She just becomes pregnant. Okay, so the baby is just conceived, and the baby is coming down, and it wants to implant in the womb. What happens when you take contraceptives is it makes the womb hostile to the child. So normally, a woman's womb is like a plush garden. It's like a plush garden. So that's like a woman's womb, right? But if she takes a contraceptive, it becomes slick. So here's this baby that's newly conceived. It wants to come in, it wants to implant in the plush garden, but the woman's taking contraceptives, and so it becomes slick. So this baby is coming down, it wants to implant, and guess what? It just goes out, okay? So she just is not able to conceive, and so she has her period. And that baby that would have implanted if she weren't taking the pill is aborted at a very early stage. It's a very early, it's early stage, but that's still a baby. We learned from the doctor that baby is a baby at conception. It's all there, everything is there, but that's one way. That's just the pill. So I just talked about the pill. So that's what the pill does to a woman's womb. It makes it slick, so then the baby can't implant, and so you're having an early abortion. Now, it doesn't happen every time, but it's one of the ways that the pill works. So that's one of the ways the pill works, is it can do that. Another one is called the IUD. So what the IUD does is it's kind of a strange thing. It goes around the woman's womb. It's like this metal hook or whatever. It goes around the woman's womb and it scrapes the uterine wall. So like if there's a baby, again, a very early stage, but it's a baby in the womb, this metal piece will go around and it just keeps going around and it scrapes off the baby. And then the baby goes out in period again. So you have, these can be early abortions. Now, the thing about it is, you don't know. Like sometimes it will, and sometimes it won't. You just don't know whether the pill, which way it's going to work. So it's kind of one of those things where you're like, you don't know if you've aborted a baby or not. It's at a very early stage. But basically, all the contraceptives work this way. There's Norplant, which is in the arm. There's different ones, but they all pretty much work in the same way, and they all can cause an early abortion. It's not that they always do, but they can. That's one of the ways they work. So that's why the Catholic Church teaches that contraception is an evil, that we don't want to be contracepting and taking the pill, and that God will want you to remain chaste until marriage and then to have children. So, good question. Any other questions? Yes.
I have to disagree with the statement you just said.
Okay, about which one?
The reason the church teaches that contraception is wrong is not just because it causes abortion.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anything that interferes
Yeah, you're right.
with the natural relationship
Yeah.
between a man and a woman
You're right. I wasn't.
is taught
I totally agree.
by the church.
I totally agree. Sorry, I left that out. Yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead and repeat it if you want in the microphone. Yeah, no, I agree completely. That's not the only reason. You are absolutely right. And absolutely right. Yes.
Just to follow up on that, back in, I think it was in the 60s, 1950s, before all y'all were even born, the American College of OBGYN, which is a national organization of obstetricians and gynecologists, the research on the pill was going on, and they saw that this was going to come onto the market, and they changed the definition of pregnancy, and I think that's something that if you know this, you see the evil, because it used to be in every piece of literature, every textbook, pregnancy started at conception. But when they knew that the pill, one of its actions was
Right.
to interfere with the implantation of that little body
Yep.
into the uterus, they changed the definition of pregnancy to be
Implantation.
implantation.
Right.
And if you
Right.
go back and look at the textbooks, you see where it changed.
Yeah.
So then we say, well, that's why your doctor can say, oh no, it doesn't interfere with pregnancy.
Mhm.
There's not a pregnancy yet.
Right.
But we know there is,
Right.
and they know there is, and they just change the wording.
Yeah.
So that they can say that. And if you look at the package insert, it will tell you the actions of the pill.
Right.
That
Right.
it does interfere with implantation.
Exactly. No, exactly. Thank you for explaining all that, because it's it's evil, like you say. Just so much of the
And I think too, people think, oh, it's just the Catholics who are against contraception.
right.
But every single Christian religion up until 1930 and Judaism fought against it. And in 1930, the Episcopal Church just changed their teaching. And from that point on, a lot of others fell in line.
Right.
But if you go back and read what was said in just the newspapers at the time about what would happen, they predicted, like the New York Times even, that it would cause breakdown in families, divorce, misuse of women. Women became
Objects. Yeah.
objects. And it's just free to read what was said by the secular press, how true it is.
Right.
Those things have all come to pass.
Exactly. No, thank you. Thank you. It's good. It is. I just also want to share, excuse me, when I was at a recent gathering, a couple ladies were talking to me about the suffering they were experiencing through contraception. And I just wanted to share this with you. So I was like, yeah, there needs to be something for those who are suffering, who a lot of people, one lady was sharing, she was like 18 years old, she had just gotten married, she's in her 70s now. They just, bam, put her on here's your contraceptives, here you go, you're getting married and you'll need contraceptives. And that happened with a lot of people. And so there's a lot of suffering people now that are like, did I abort a baby? How many babies did I abort through contraception? So there's a group called One More Soul, and I was trying to find if there's anything out there. They're literally just starting a healing a healing for those who are contracepting, and they're going to be having retreat. We'll be sending it out probably on our emails, but they're going to be having like no, let's see, I don't know if it was a retreat. It's going to be like a I don't know. I'm actually going to be speaking with them like next week, because I told them, I said, have you guys thought about doing a one-day retreat for those who've experienced contraception and need healing? And they were like, oh, we'd love to. So they want to talk about like what components and things like that, because I thought it'd be very similar to some of the things from Project Rachel. So, but they are going to have like something this summer. So I just want to say, if you know anybody suffering from contraception, One More Soul, they can go to One More Soul, and there's going to be a healing, either a conference and they're going to look into the one-day retreat for those suffering, because it's just been so many are suffering, and there's really nothing. You know, I mean, you can go speak with a priest, which is great, but it's just also nice to walk through some kind of a healing if there was a loss there. So just want to mention that.
Can I add something?
What's that?
Can I add something?
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to bring up is, some contraceptives, what they do is they change the body chemistry so that the woman just doesn't have the ability to get pregnant just because the body chemistry is wrong. And one of the things that nobody really talks about is that a lot of these women, or at least a decent number, actually, because they've stayed in a certain chemistry for such a decent long amount of time, they actually lose the ability to get pregnant when
Wow.
they want to be.
Wow, I don't know that I heard that. Oh, that's good. I've also heard that you're attracted, I don't know if you heard this before, when you're on the pill, that you're almost like attracted to the wrong kind of people. Have you heard that before? It's interesting. I'd like to read more on that.
There's something about the body chemistry, about how when you're ovulating, or that you're actually more attracted to masculine traits, and when you are on the pill, you because your estrogen and all that is not at the same spot, that you're actually attracted to more feminine traits in men, which is interesting.
It is interesting, yeah. Well, yeah, and God never planned for us to be messing with things that we should be messing with, so. Yeah, well, good. Well, yeah.
So what if a female is on this due to hormone purposes? They're having problems with their cycle, and the doctor has told them they need to go on it for a hormone purpose.
Well,
Might be they're messing with their, and it could be psychological, could be emotional, could be anything, because they're imbalanced hormonally.
I know that there are other ways to treat it. I know there's a group, let's see, Pope Paul VI Institute for Naprotechnology. Are you familiar with that? Creighton. And so Pope Paul, I believe it's Pope Paul VI, is that right, Father? If you go out to their website, they have just natural things they're in line with the church teaching and everything, so it's just a better way. That's what I would do if I were having that problem. I would contact them instead, because then you don't have that whole thing of a woman who's married and, having to deal. Go ahead, yeah.
The taking the pill for those type of problems removes the symptoms. The Creighton people, Napro, all of that, which are the same people, deal with the problem.
Right.
And that's the big difference. It's easy for the medical community to give you a pill that deals with the symptom, rather than helping the woman deal with the true problem
The
that
root.
she happens to have in her cycles, etc. So rather than taking the easy way of just getting rid of
Symptoms.
this, dealing with the actual health problem is a much better way to go.
Exactly. Yeah, does that make sense, what he just said? You're really treating the root cause, and you're not just putting a Band-Aid on like a lot of these drugs do. They put a Band-Aid and they don't treat the root cause. So Pope Paul VI, they're awesome. I've been in touch with them for things, and they're excellent. So I highly recommend them. Yeah.
I just want to tell you, I worked in a teaching hospital where our kids were all the most outstanding OB/GYN department in the country. And I will tell you this is true. Every doctor in their training is taught to put every teenage girl on the pill. Because that is problem in our health. And so, we have all kinds of things to do besides the pill, for all kinds of problems your daughters might be having. So, Stevie, I have.
I've heard of a lot of people say that that might be a reason why they're using that medication from, and I just,
Yeah, and
You need to get a doctor who will find out why you're having a problem, instead of just sitting on the pill too long. Right?
yeah, thanks. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Cuando una persona, una mujer se opera para no tener bebés, ahí es como si estuviera matando.
When a woman get a surgery for not get pregnant again, that is like really having an abortion.
When she what, sorry?
When a woman get the surgery to not get pregnant again, it's kind of like an abortion.
Oh, to have her tubes tied? Yeah, that breaks my heart because I worked in Project Gabriel for a while, and the same thing like we were talking about. The doctors would be like, "Would you like your tubes tied? You just had a baby and that was so painful. Would you like your tubes tied?" They did this to the girls over and over, and it happened to me like at least 2 times, and I just forgot to prepare them. Like these girls, they were in their 20s. And they would have their baby, you know, they chose life, they'd have their baby, and then the doctor would say, "Would you like your tubes tied? I can do it right now." And they do that all the time. But yeah, I mean, that's another area that needs healing, because those could be, you don't know how many children God would want to give the woman, and when you get your tubes tied, you're saying no to any more. So yeah, healing could be used there too. I know women that are, and I've also heard that it's very, it causes a lot of problems with your physical. It can cause a lot of physical problems because it's not natural, and it just can be very painful physically as well. I think I've heard that as well. So I guess I don't know if I answered the question. Just that.
Bueno, lo pregunté por el problema que tiene mi hija, como llaman 5 bebés.
Okay, she's bringing out some experience because one of her daughter, after that surgery, have been losing 5 her kids, and she was thinking about the probably that would be one of the main problems, that she right now can't have any more babies.
Her daughter had her tubes tied.
Ella tuvo la cirugía anteriormente.
¿Cirugía?
La de.
No. O sea, ahorita que perdió su bebé, el doctor le ofreció que si se quería operar para que ella no esté.
Oh, okay. So, after losing 5 babies, the doctor asked her if she wants to get the surgery so because she had been having
Okay, she was having miscarriages.
Right.
So she said, "You want to end it,
Right.
tie your tubes." And she said, "No, I hope."
Okay.
She said no.
Por eso estoy preguntando que
She had
como
one
ahí que
She hasn't made a decision.
no se quiere sentir mal, que esté pasando lo mismo, pero
She haven't taken a decision yet, but she's like, she doesn't want to feel that pain again.
Yeah.
But
Well, tell her again. She might want to, because they go to the root with NAPRO technology and those. It's a different approach. It's going to help. Maybe there's some problem that's not being addressed. So I really recommend Prolife 6 NAPRO technology and all that. It's just right down what she's talking about, because it might be, there's probably some issue that needs to be addressed, you know, with her, whether it be nutrition or whatever. That's what I'd recommend.
que se puede buscar un poquito más de información y ayuda para, porque quizás haya algún problema que no necesariamente se está atendiendo. Entonces eso podría ayudar.
Porque de la misma manera, si pasa algo, se valora de esa manera, ya tiene pues, que se va a notar, lo mejor que puede hacer es buscar ayuda, encontrar la ayuda a través del problema, para que no esté con ese tipo de cirugía que pasa para la vida.
Yeah, hopefully I would definitely, tell her not to Tell her not to let me tie the tubes, that's not the answer. Yes?
She was talking about that, it is possible for person like that to go to the retreat?
Yeah, so she has miscarried babies. You know, she can get in touch. I know there's a special, I think it's the Elizabeth, Elizabeth has Elizabeth in it. And I know that they work with miscarriage, because it is a little different. I would like to say yes, but it is a little different because there's a different dynamic there. She didn't want to lose her children, and, you know, I mean, with abortion, it's just different dynamic. But there is, I know it's got Elizabeth in it, and I know they work with miscarriage. What?
There's also something called Embrace, it's St. Luke's in Dallas. David Human runs that.
Yeah.
And, I'm emailing her that tonight.
You're gonna tell her about that? Yeah, I think that would be good.
There's a lot going on, but,
Yeah.
specifically here.
Yeah. It's good. Okay.
Yo les quiero preguntar, hablamos en el aborto sobre la muerte en el Perú. ¿Qué posibilidades tiene un canal de morir en el aborto? She's asking that sometimes with the abortion we talk more from the death of a baby. How are the possibilities for a woman to die of an abortion?
Oh, the dangers of having an abortion and dying.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's very, do you understand English okay? No.
She's translating.
Oh, she's translating, okay. Yeah, I mean, tons of women, they like to keep it hush-hush, but lots and lots of women die through in abortions. And, I mean, I've seen women come out, when I was in Dallas, I saw a woman come out on a stretcher. They took her out, they took her in the ambulance. And the media keeps it so quiet. They will not report on this, but many, many women die through having an abortion. It's really heartbreaking. Yeah.
And like, what if your life is at risk if you have another kid? It's like,
Yeah, that's a good question. What if your life's at risk if you have another child? And a lot of times they'll say that, you know, you have to have an abortion because you're going to die or whatever. But from what I understand, doctors have said, like more than 400 doctors, more than that by now. This was years ago when I had this document, and it had all these doctors basically had signed it. And it's never medically necessary to abort a child to save the life of a mother. Hundreds of doctors have said that. So it's a lie if you hear that abortion is necessary. It's just not true. There's other things they can do. They can try and save both, and they can, but it's never necessary to abort. Oh, Saint Gianna. Yeah, Saint Gianna Beretta Mola. She did die though. She did die, but she had her baby. You know, she said save my baby. If you have to choose, save my baby.
Cancer, and she refused treatment.
Yes.
The baby was born, and then the mother died.
Yeah. So the baby was born and then she died. So yeah. So if you hear that, just tell them that it is never many doctors have said that it's never medically necessary to have an abortion to save the life of a mother.
like not only abortions, but also the operations, not having more kids.
Oh, you mean like a well, I mean, you might be getting into some doctor stuff here, but okay, so specifically what you mean, like?
Like if your life is at risk to have another kid, then they just do the operations when you can't have any more kids to save your own life.
Well, I think they would recommend, are you guys on that? She's saying they're saying if you have a child, you could die, so that you could die. But you never want to have an operation to mutilate yourself so that you're infertile. You just never want to do that. But I guess usually would just say not to conceive. Like I guess what is the answer on that? Yeah.
I think if you have a serious health issue that makes pregnancy dangerous, say you have 5 children, and you have a cardiac issue, a heart issue, that actually, more than one doctor, and you've gone to a good macro doctor who told you that it's not safe to conceive again. The church doesn't say you can't try not to
So basically, there's what's called natural family planning that she could use natural family planning in that case where she would not conceive. And so we could talk more about that. I can talk more about that with you, explain a little more about that, okay? It's good. You guys are good. Good questions. All right.
Any other questions? Okay, so, thank you very much for being here. I would like to extend a very happy for being here. I know you're all right.
Oh, no, it was great. It was all It's a blessing. You guys are all just so vibrant and awesome group, y'all. So thank you.
So Father, can you help me with the blessing?
Let's pray in the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. We thank you, Lord, for the gift of life that you've given to us, and for the gift of family and friends, and especially for the gift of faith, that we know your love and mercy. And we ask you to help us to be able to help others to know your love and mercy as well. And we ask in especially our Blessed Mother's intercession. Hail Mary.
Full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
And the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
May Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Go in peace.
Thanks be to God.
And if you need some tape before you go, there's still some back here.